rather early in my singing career. I was 5 years old, and I sang with a band that my uncle had in this cafe. So I started in a bar, much different than what Steve did, as you recall. His initial singing was. I sang in everything there was to sing with in high school. We had a quartet, double quartet. We had a cappella choir, a glee club, plus a mixed ensemble. So I sang in all those, and fortunately, the music director knew and appreciated Barbershop. So the quartet I sang in, we sang Barbershop numbers.
What school was it?
Grand Blanc High School, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Near Flint. You know about Flint.
Water.
Yeah, the water.
Just don't drink the water.
All right. So I was really active in every way I could be singing in high school. In college, I really missed it. In fact, I wrote one of the buddies that I had that I sang with in high school, wrote him saying I was really missing singing. Well, fortunately, at one of the local watering holes, I was singing with a bunch of guys, and one of them said, well, why don't you go down to the Barbershop chapter in Lansing? So I did, and I was hooked. Now this chapter was not chorus oriented. It was quartet and woodshed. And so I thought that's what happened in all barbershop chapters. Fortunately, my initial exposure was very positive. And one of my singing buddies there was to become the baritone of the Suntones, Harlan Wilson. He was also going to school at Michigan State. So anyway, that was really an enriching barbershop experience for me. It was helped a great deal by the fact that John Hill, who is an arranger, was also active in the chapter. He was ahead of his time. I didn't know the exact details of what was going on when he was active as an arranger in the society, but he wasn't, I think it was not particularly appreciated. We were singing things, he arranged, Every Time It Rains, Pennies from Heaven. We sang that, and some of his other songs. So I was, again, I didn't know him from anybody, but I do recall being at his house. He's pounding out chords on the piano as I was singing with these really old guys. You know, they were probably in their 40s or 50s. I was 22 at the time, and they seemed like old. They don't anymore. My wife also was an Adeline in Lansing, so we started out kind of together. After graduation, well, no, before I got my master's, between my first and second graduate years, I joined the Toledo, Ohio chapter. And that was a fun group. They were also quartet oriented, so that made good sense to me. After I graduated, I went into the service at Fort in San Antonio, and so I was a member of the San Antonio chapter. That was a really good experience. They did lots of woodshedding and quartet and focused emphasis. And one of the guys I became pretty close friends with, and we maintained the friendship over the years, eventually became the baritone of the International 69 champs, Mark IV, Dale Dizer. Jim knows him well. His son with him several times, I know. And my wife joined, Jane, joined the Sweet Adelines in San Antonio. She was a charter member of the San Antonio Adelines. So, when I got out of the service, I took a job in Wichita, Kansas, and joined that chapter, and I've remained friends with some of you guys know Will Winder. And this was in 1961. And we've maintained contact over the years and sung together many, many, many times. So then I got called back into the service, and I was at Fort Polk, Louisiana. I could not find, there were roughly 100,000 guys. This is during the Berlin crisis. Many of you probably don't remember that, but there were a couple 100,000 men called back into service. I was there, and I thought I'd be able to find other singers. I didn't, so I didn't sing. I went to Lake Charles, Louisiana chapter a couple of times, but it was about a 150-mile round trip, so I didn't do that. I didn't do that more than twice. Okay, Lake Charles. From the service, I took a job in Wichita, Kansas, and went to my first international contest. I mean, I was an observer, not a participant, in Kansas City. And that's when I first met the Hut Four. They were singing in the guest rooms, you know, between contests. And I told them excitedly that you know, I'd taken a job in Minneapolis. They were really busy. I thought they'd be happy to welcome me. Well, they were, and I think it was either Bob. I don't know which I said hello to. And, you know, they said hello. Glad you're coming. That was it. But I was really looking forward to coming to Minneapolis to sing with the Commodores, which I did. That was in '62. And I moved from Minneapolis to Bloomington, and then joined the Bloomington chapter. And I was a member there from like '63 to '75, roughly. And while there, I sang lead in the Ecstatics Quartet, the second registered quartet. When I was in Wichita, I sang tenor with the bartenders. Tenders of the musical bar, not the other kind. And the organized quartets, or the registered quartets that I sang with, weren't particularly high quality competition-wise. We had fun, we were entertaining, and had jobs around the states, both in Kansas and Oklahoma, and with the Ecstatics here at Bloomington, we sang in at a number of shows, but we didn't do particularly well competitively. Now the guys that I sang with, when they sang with other leads or other tenors, they did really well. And it was the same kind of thing. You know, I sang with. In Wichita, Jay Bond was the bass of the Orphans. They were 1954 international champs. Is that right? Yeah. So I sang with Jay Bond. I sang with Dale Dizer. I sang with you guys, of course, Bob, Jim, and Dalma. So I've sung with lots of really good singers, and I've been in at least one quartet where the bass, Gene Teetsy, sang at international, on the international stage. The tenor, Ken Agri, was a district champ with Red Barons. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
And the baritone was Bob Moxness, who was an original baritone with the Hut Four. So you kind of see a pattern. I've sung a lot with a lot of good singers, but and they've done really well, and I've just liked singing with them, I guess. So that kind of gives you an idea of the bouncing around I've done in the barbershop chapters that I've been a part of. It's been really rewarding, as any of you who have been in the society for a period of time know that there's a family atmosphere, there's an acceptance that is hard to find in moving to different communities. Barbershop was the major source of our social inclusion. And that's a pretty important aspect of our hobby. For the last 25 or 30 years, my barbershop activity has been coming here, meeting with you guys, singing with not a registered quartet, but a fun quartet. Jerry Larson sang lead, I sang tenor, Dick Johnson was the bass, and Joel was the bari. The accidentals, we didn't compete, we sang mainly for our own enjoyment. We had fun, and at times we sang really well. Other times we didn't sing so well, we didn't care. I've also participated with a lot of fun, playing golf, mixing Manhattans, and singing with Dyke, Joel singing bari. I sing bass in that group, and Ron Tomley is tenor.
Dream Quartet.
See, and all those guys have also made it big in the society, but they put up with me. Jane and I have attended probably 20 or so international contests and midwinter conventions. So we've maintained our activity pretty regularly. Let me tell you the rest of my barbershop payoff has been with my family. I have 3 sons, and they all sing, all have pretty good ears. So we've been singing together for, any family get-together. 2 of my sons were in a registered quartet back in the 70s, so they know and appreciate it. They've been down here a few times too. And I also have a grandson who is a frontline singer with the international champs, Westminster. And he's been with them for a couple of years and absolutely loves it. He just got back, incidentally, from a trip to New Zealand. And he's vice president for, I can't think of the exact title. Anyway, he arranged the whole thing for that group of about 50 guys to go to New Zealand for it. There was a 10 or 12-day trip. So I finally have some of my blood flowing in a champion singer, my grandson. And that's really a delight to me. One of the highlights of my barbershop life was singing in the father-son, grandson chorus. It was back, I don't remember exactly what it was, several years ago. But I had 2 grandsons and my 3 sons and I. So there are 6 of us represented in that group. And the directors were, again, past champs, the Slamkas, the bass, was a champion in 2006, I think. 3. And the lead is the current lead of Crossroads, past champs. So I've really rubbed elbows with lots of really, really good singers, and I consider that really a blessing. So wrapping up, I want to re-emphasize the fact that the society has been more than just a place to sing for me. I love it as much as you can love singing. I appreciate it, and I can't understand other forms of singing that don't give you goosebumps or tears. Now, some do once in a while, but consistently, this organization provides that kind of joy, and has for the last 64 years of my marriage to my wife, and she also loves Barbershop, fortunately. So, I want you to know that my life wouldn't be complete without guys like you in my life. So thank you.